impulse to your conscious mind about any data we have on that, and then you react. You react like, oh good, I'm okay, or gee, that's bad, or gee, I better look that over, or you weighing one word against the other, whatever you have to do. It gets that information from the subconscious. So because the conscious mind on its own really doesn't do anything at all. The subconscious is kind of like the computer of the individual. It's the actual center and the control guidance center, you might call it, and that's responsible for the individual's entire internal communication, as well as its connection with the spiritual realm, because it's through the subconscious that the individual tries to get information into the spiritual subconscious all the time. Well, it's also responsible for person-to-person contact. If you want to, get in touch with someone else telepathically through feelings and guidance and so forth, and that's where that little thing called the we form comes in. But now, when our person here is up for promotion, he's using his senses and so forth to gather information, and it comes in, it goes down to the subconscious to see if we have any data, if we have any known facts on that, and then it flies flashlight right back up to the conscious mind, so the conscious mind can actually react. That's how the system actually works. The psyche, on the other hand, which is down at the bottom down there, that the psyche itself, it just does feelings and thinkings. It's kind of like that's the area, actually, it's the factors of thinking, feeling. It processes an individual's, your disposition, your morality. And that's the type of things that are down there. So, we want to be careful what we feed that. Well, what happens is every time you are making decisions, and let's say now this guy gets the promotion, and it leads him into new information, but what's he done now? He's experienced a promotion in life, and because of that, he learned new things about himself. He met new people, and his life changed a little bit now because of these new leadership qualities that were put upon him. He had new things that new problems he had to work with. He was exposed to new challenges in life by virtue of this promotion. So he had some new things in life to conquer, to learn, and to do, and it changed him. Have you ever seen someone, maybe when they get a promotion, their attitude changes a little bit? Leadership sets well with them. It brings out a different part of that individual, and they change a little bit. It becomes part of that person. Well, when something becomes part of you, when you've had an experience that becomes part of yourself and changes the way you are, then you've gained some wisdom. Those are the kind of experiences that your spirit is interested in, because that's the kind of information that your spirit collects. So what would happen is these experiences, these new ideas and wisdom and so forth that you get, this wisdom from all of that, will go through that filter, that sensing device there in the middle, and that will go over and be stored over in your spiritual subconscious then and become part of your continuing knowledge. That sensor in the middle also is kind of a buffer between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind does not like to be bothered all the time with with the type of information that's irrelevant or frivolous. If you have some fleeting thought or whatever which really doesn't have anything to do or you're not serious about, the subconscious doesn't want to bother. The sensor will bounce it back, and the subconscious really isn't bothered at all. So that's the process. Then we have this little thing called the we form there in the middle. The we form actually is what many of us think of as telepathy. What the we form is, it's a sensor. It's a sensing device, much like your other senses, but it works a little bit differently. You see, the subconscious mind has the ability to move thoughts and feelings among all of us, among people. And it does it with kind of an image language, a symbol language. Now, the we form on the material side is called primary telepathy. The Plejadians use the phrase we form because there's all these we people are all formed into one consciousness. For instance, let's say our fellow that's, well, forget the fellows, just say yourself. If you've ever been in a really crowded area, maybe you get into an elevator, and there's you get in and you turn around and you're all alone, and there's some very unsavory, large, slurry, dirty character in the elevator that's looking at you like, there could be potential harm here. You're very uncomfortable, okay? Well, you're not only all of your senses are reading his look and feel and everything, but he's probably projecting some very unkind thoughts about you, and that's done from subconscious to subconscious, and it's your we form that's picking that up. Have you ever walked over to the phone and known it was somebody calling, or had a hunch who was going to knock at the door, or you had a hunch to go pick up your laundry or something, or just some feeling? That comes out of the we form. The primary telepathy is confined pretty much to the planet. It's short range. By that I mean you can pick up thoughts and feelings from people around the planet. This is also how, like in large metropolitan areas, that the subconscious of millions of people who may be unhappy, angry, or unrestful and so forth affects other people. We talked earlier about how you really couldn't have spiritual growth in a major city. This is one of the reasons why. Because your subconscious mind, without you being conscious of it all the time, is constantly picking up these feelings, images, and so forth from the we form, the telepathic we form, in your subconscious on your material side. Now you notice over on the right side it says we form also, and it calls that spiritual telepathy. That's a little different. Over on the material side, the primary telepathy is rather basic. It's a form of hearing. It's a tone that comes in the ear that you can learn to receive it. That can be blocked. You can learn actually to block out those feelings and so forth so they don't really bother you. On the other hand, over on the other side, the spiritual telepathy, unlike the primary telepathy, is very long range. And this is how Billy was able to receive telepathic transmissions and so forth from the Pleiadians and other higher life forms over on the spiritual side. This is also what channeling is supposed to be. When you receive information from other beings and higher sources, it's done through the subconscious we form on the spiritual side in the form of telepathy. And this is a language of symbols. There are over 50 million symbols, sometimes called keys, that interpret spiritual knowledge. And if you wish to be in touch with higher life forms and so forth, this is how it's done. You develop the use of your spirit, and you receive telepathic images in this language that come into your spiritual self. They then are translated into your speaking language and sent to the material side. So never is there a trance needed. Any person who is actually channeling, it's impossible to channel a being from another world, because channeling is only short range, and channeling concerns itself with the psyche, which is your center for feelings and thinking and so forth. Also, this interplays if a person has an ego problem, wants to be popular, wants to be noted, wants to be thought of well, and so forth. These thoughts interfere in the individual when they're channeling, and that's why they create the persona. It's done by their insides, their psyche and their subconscious more or less get together and create this euphoric meditation. That's why they always speak and make up some strange sound. This is Uthor from Egypt or whatever. Well, it's not. It's an individual creating that by themselves. Channeling is not real. It is never accurate. If you wish to receive information from a higher life form or another individual on another world, it is done through the spiritual self. It is done through this spiritual we form, and it involves the knowledge of the symbol language actually receiving it. So that's how it would actually work. You do not have to be unconscious. There is never needed the trance, and there is never needed a separate persona in order to receive this information. You can learn to do it in a fully conscious, awake state. The Gay-Moot's a fascinating little device. The Gay-Moot over there is a sensor. You've heard people talk sometimes about how the silver cord where you're connected to creation. Well, that's kind of what the Gay-Moot is. It is a sensing device that can connect you to higher forms of information also. If you are interested in contacting your higher self or